Hello, friends, and welcome back to another set of malicious compliance stories. Our story today is about one person versus winter and one very loud Karen in a luxury SUV. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with a turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Karen screamed at me and called me crazy for daring to be on her road. I'll start by saying that I'm a wheelchair user. It's not the end of the world, I've learned to adapt, but it does mean that everyday tasks require a little more planning, patience, and sometimes pure stubbornness. Even though I'm confined to a chair when I leave my apartment, I really value what independence I have. I do my best to manage life on my own terms. I hate asking for help unless I absolutely have to. Now, normally I'm pretty good about avoiding going out during storms or when the weather's bad, but it's the week before Christmas, and as luck would have it, I had to make a quick trip out for a few last-minute things this morning. Timing couldn't have been worse. We just had a full-on blizzard on Saturday, and the city's still trying to dig itself out. Anyone who's ever dealt with winter in a wheelchair knows exactly what kind of hell this is. Sidewalks? Forget it. They're either buried under snowbanks, covered in black ice, or turned into ankle-deep slush puddles that could swallow a wheel whole. The city crews do their best, I know, but sometimes clear just means there's a narrow, icy trench you might survive if you go slow enough. After trying to navigate a few blocks and realizing I was basically just doing laps around frozen craters, I gave up on the sidewalks completely and decided to use the road. Yeah, I know, it's not ideal, but when the only alternative is flipping over into a snowbank, I'll take my chances on asphalt. I stuck to the bike lanes where I could, made sure my flag was visible, and kept to the right. I wasn't in anyone's way, or so I thought. Apparently that was too much for one particularly miserable soul this morning. I'm rolling along, minding my own business, when a car slows down beside me. The window rolls down, and out pops the head of this woman. Blonde, oversized sunglasses, you know the type, and she just screams, "Are you effing crazy?" I actually froze for a second because I was so stunned. Like, really? That's what you choose to yell at the person in a wheelchair trying to navigate literal piles of ice and snow? I wasn't out joyriding, lady. I was just trying to get home without dying of hypothermia. I yelled back something along the lines of, "Yeah, thanks, Merry Christmas to you." But honestly, I don't think she heard me. She'd already sped off, probably feeling very proud of herself for putting me in my place. The irony is, if she'd just looked around for half a second, she would have seen there was nowhere else for me to go. The sidewalks were blocked by mountains of snow taller than my chair. I physically could not use them. I kept going, shaking my head, half annoyed and half laughing. There's always that one person who thinks they know better than everyone else, even when they clearly don't. The whole situation was so ridiculous that by the time I got home, I was too tired to even stay mad. So yeah, that was my big adventure for the day, navigating a post-blizzard obstacle course, dodging cars and getting yelled at by some self-appointed traffic enforcer in a luxury SUV. Honestly, I just needed to rant. People really need to stop assuming they understand a situation based on a 5-second glance. Not everyone struggling out in public is doing something crazy. Sometimes we're just doing what we have to do to survive another day in a world not built for us. Anyway, I'm home now, thawing out. Man, I think I've earned about 6 cups of coffee. And maybe a cookie. Or 5. Nothing sums up winter humanity like someone in a heated SUV yelling at a person in a wheelchair for existing on a road made impassable by snow. That woman probably thought she was some kind of hero saving you from danger. When in reality, she was just another loudmouth who's never had to think twice about accessibility. And our second story. What happens when one old Karen meets another old Karen? This story takes place in the physiotherapy department of an NHS hospital, the kind of place where patients is tested daily and the waiting room could double as a soap opera set. The star of this episode is a woman we'll call First Old Lady, FOL. Mid-80s, about 4'6", walks with a cane and an attitude. She's been coming to the hospital for years. Everyone knows her. She's not cruel or mean. In fact, when things go her way, she can be quite sweet. But she's also the type who believes hospital rules aren't merely suggestions for other people. She's the kind who expects to sit in the staff office instead of the waiting room, wants to share the nurses' tea breaks, and throws a fit if you suggest that perhaps she should wait her turn like everyone else? A few years ago, FOL fell and injured her knee. Doctors told her to rest it, take it easy, and let it heal. They arranged for meals on wheels, home help, even a district nurse, the full works. But she refused to slow down. She's fiercely independent and insists on walking everywhere, even to the shops. When her son bought her a mobility scooter, she refused to use it. It's for old people, she said. When doctors suggested a wheelchair, she waved it off as nonsense. She'll take her cane and grit her teeth, thank you very much. Of course, all that stubborn walking made her knee worse. To compensate, she started putting more weight on her other leg. Now her hip hurts too. The doctors offered surgery. She refused that as well. So she's been getting pain injections, a short-term solution for a long-term problem. Which brings us to this morning. 3 weeks ago, FOL received her scheduled hip injection. Normally, she wouldn't be due for another for at least 3 months, but when FOL decides something, reality must bend to her will. So without an appointment, she turned up bright and early, plopped herself in front of the reception desk, and announced she was here for her injection. The receptionist, who has the patience of a saint, explained that she wasn't due yet and didn't have an appointment. FOL refused to budge. She said her hip hurt, she wanted an injection, and she wasn't leaving without it. The nurse on duty came out, calm as ever, and gently moved her to the side of the reception area so other patients could be seen. For a few blissful minutes, it worked. But then FOL realized she wasn't causing quite enough chaos to get what she wanted. So with the determination of a seasoned protester, she shuffled right back in front of the reception desk, blocking the next patient in line. That next patient was second old lady, SOL, about 70, 5 feet tall, and already looking like she'd been waiting too long for her appointment. SOL was not having it. She gave FOL a pointed glare and snapped, "Excuse me, it's my turn." FOL, unmoved, said something along the lines of, "You'll wait just like everyone else, dear." SOL wasn't having that either. She jabbed FOL in the shoulder with one bony finger and said, "Move." And that was it. Battle lines drawn. FOL retaliated the only way she knew how, by prodding SOL back with her cane. SOL yelped, and her husband, sitting nearby, jumped up and grabbed the cane. Suddenly, you had an 80-year-old woman on one end of the stick, a 70-year-old woman and her husband on the other, and a very bewildered receptionist looking like she wanted to melt into the floor. Within seconds, half the nursing staff descended like referees at a boxing match. One nurse took the cane, another guided SOL and her husband away, and a third tried to calm FOL down, though FOL was already shouting about being assaulted and unprovoked attacks. By the time things settled, the entire waiting room was staring, wide-eyed and silent. The nurses, bless them, managed to get both women seated at opposite ends of the room. FOL was muttering about her hip, and SOL was whispering furiously to her husband about some people having no manners. And the best part? 10 minutes later, FOL was back up again, asking if she could just pop in for her injection since she was already here. The nurses told her kindly but firmly that she'd need to make an appointment like everyone else. She huffed, muttered something about bureaucracy gone mad, and shuffled out, cane clicking dramatically all the way. As the staff finally exhaled, one nurse summed it up perfectly. Just another day in the NHS. Entitled wife tries to bully me over the phone after her husband forgets his wallet, lies to head office. Another story from the petrol station. So we had a guy come in and fill up his fuel. He came inside and realized he'd left his card at home, a good 30-minute drive away. I tell him that it's fine as long as he can get back before the end of my shift. I won't have to report it as a drive-off. He thanks me, leaves his details, and leaves. All around a decent guy. Cut forward 20 minutes or so, and the store gets a call. Me. Hello? Wife. Hi, my husband was just there and left his card at home. Me. Oh yeah, that's okay. I said as long as he could get back. Wife. No, it's not convenient for us tonight. Me. Oh well, I'm afraid that Wife. No, you don't understand. It's inconvenient for him to drive all the way back tonight. We have kids and we have plans with them tonight. Important plans. So can he just pay it off later? Me. Well, I'm sorry, but if he cannot return by the end of my shift, I will have to write it up and inform police about the... Wife. That's a ridiculous overreaction. I'll just pay over the phone by reading out my card number. Me. I'm sorry, but we can't accept payment over the phone for legal reasons. It's store policy. Wife. You're making that up. It's inconvenient and my husband won't be returning tonight. Now let me pay over the phone. Me. Sorry, but the system won't let me to, even if I try. Wife, get me your manager. Me. I'm the only one on tonight, but I'm happy to give you the number for head office. Wife. And they can let me pay over the phone to them? Me. No, absolutely not. But if you wish to complain, you can explain to them. She hangs up. About 10 minutes later, I get a call from head office. Me. Hello? HO. Hi, this is head office calling in regards to a call we just got from a customer. She claimed you told her that she could pay for her husband's petrol over the phone. You realize this is against company policy. Me. No, sorry, but I absolutely told her that she couldn't pay over the phone. She wouldn't listen to me. HO. I suspected as much. She was being difficult. Me. Yeah. HO. Well, that makes me feel better about what I said. I told her she was lucky you let her husband leave at all. You should have insisted he leave his car there while he got a cab home and back. I also told her that if they weren't back to pay in 40 minutes, the police would be called immediately and they would have a criminal record. Me. Haha, how'd she take that? HO. She was suddenly very cooperative. 20 minutes later, the husband returns and pays for the fuel. I tell him thanks and to apologize to the wife for not being able to pay over the phone. He's confused by this. I explain what happened. He had no idea. He texted her saying he would be back late as he was going to pick up his card. She called us and complained without letting him know. He wasn't pleased, just shook his head and left apologizing. Customer, I'm so sorry. She does this all the time. You don't get paid enough to deal with that. Lady, your husband made a total normal human error. You could have just said, okay, honey, see you soon, and moved on with your evening. But no, she had to pull a full Karen mode because apparently driving 30 minutes is a fate worse than jail time. She almost got him in trouble by trying to help. And our last story. Neighbor threatened to sue over a pond. This happened a few years back after I bought 4 acres and a small country house. My nearest neighbor owned about 6 acres next door, and at first I figured we'd have the usual rural peace where everyone minds their own business. When I bought the property, the previous owners mentioned a small pond they'd built several years earlier. It was shallow, about the size of a big swimming pool surrounded by raised dirt. What they didn't mention, or maybe didn't even know, was that a tiny slice of that raised bank, maybe 5 or 10 feet wide, technically extended onto the neighbor's land. I didn't think much of it. 5 feet of dirt in the middle of nowhere hardly seemed like a big deal. Apparently, it was a huge deal to my neighbor. About a year after I moved in, he came stomping up my driveway one afternoon, red in the face, waving papers and shouting that part of the pond was on his property. He claimed the previous owners had promised to move it, and if I didn't honor their word, he'd sue. At first, I tried to reason with him. I offered to check the survey to figure something out, but he didn't want to talk. He wanted to win. He started showing up at my job, ranting in front of coworkers, threatening lawyers, and demanding I fix the mess. So finally, I told him I'd move it. I called up a guy I knew who ran a small bulldozer business and asked him to reshape the pond since it was summer, the water level was low, so it was perfect timing. I told him, make the pond deeper, pull back the dirt that crossed the line, and then I added very casually, by the way, I've got all this extra dirt now. Can you pile it along the property line? He grinned. How high you want it? As high as you can make it. And boy, did he deliver. By the time he was done, I had a massive 10-foot dirt wall stretching almost the entire length of our shared property lines. It blocked the view completely. My backyard, once visible from his deck, now looked like a fortress. When my neighbor came out and saw it, he lost it. I thought the man was going to pop a vein. He screamed that I was ruining the landscape, that I had no right to build something like that. I calmly told him it wasn't a structure, it was just dirt from my own property sitting entirely on my side. He tried everything. First, he called the county. An inspector came out, took one look and shrugged. It's not a structure, he said, it's landscaping. Nothing illegal here. Then he went to the neighborhood association, which, for the record, doesn't even have authority over my property. They sent me a very polite letter offering to remove the dirt barrier for free. I ignored it. When that didn't work, he started spreading rumors that I'd ruined drainage, that mosquitoes were breeding, that I was lowering property values. But the funny part, after I reshaped the pond, the water actually drained better. No standing water, no mosquitoes, nothing. The more he complained, the better that dirt wall looked. Over the next few weeks, I planted wildflowers on top of it, later some shrubs. Eventually, I threw in a few decorative stones and solar lights. It became a natural, beautiful border. From my side, it looked great. A soft rise of green and the pond beyond it. From his side, though, it looked awful. After a few months, he finally stopped coming over, but the best part, he listed his property for sale not long after, writing in the description that the view was recently obstructed by neighboring landscaping. No one bought it for almost a year. I didn't just solve the problem, I solved him. He wanted me to move the dirt off his property, I did. Just not the way he expected. Imagine buying your dream house, enjoying the peace, until your neighbor storms in yelling about 5 feet of dirt. 5 feet! And instead of backing down, you calmly say, all right then, call in a bulldozer and turn his tantrum into topography. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.